Hi, welcome. Thank you for joining me today. My name is Tina. I'm an analytical thinker from the linear world who is 5 years into my journey as self-discovery. I'm here to share with you a few tools which have served me well on my path of self-transformation, self-awakening, whatever you want to call it. This video is video number 11 of 14. I began my first YouTube video and channel over 2 months ago now as an introduction as to why I would begin a YouTube channel at the age of 50, so feel free to hop over to that video for more details. But quite simply, I am creating this series of 14 videos to assist people like me coming from a more linear mindset step on this path of self-awakening or further down the path of self-awakening if you've already kind of dipped a toe in the water. I attempt to keep these videos to right around 15 minutes, give or take, and I post every Thursday afternoon. So with that, today's topic is creativity. Creativity is the 10th chapter of the book that I'm writing that goes by the same title as these videos, which is The Spiritual Awakening of an Analytical Mind. As always, future videos will mirror the chapters and the flow of that as we go. As I've mentioned in every single past video, the book arrived kind of on my doorstep about 2.5 years ago that I needed to write it, and I finally listened. And then more recently, I was guided that I needed to do these YouTube videos to get nuggets of information into your hands more quickly. And so therefore the YouTube channel was born. So today, creativity. How we'll discuss creativity today is more about the act of creating artwork, of creating a physical product of our making, in more the traditional sense of creating. But I will say this, since writing the book, and again, as if you've listened to my other videos, I'm kind of in the finishing touches of the book right now, so too late to go back. But what I've realized since writing the book and opened myself up to looking at creating kind of an expanded view, that each of us has an infinite ability to create whatever we want to create in this moment, in this day, in this week, whatever it may be. And that could be as simple as a new attitude, work on a new belief, have a lighter day for ourselves, stay more hydrated today. Sometimes that's what I want to create, or just a moment of calm in our day. Whatever it may be, we each have the ability to do that, and the capacity to do that. So today we'll stick to creativity in more the traditional definition of it, I guess. And discuss the physical process of creating and all that we're going to discuss there, and maybe the extended version of creativity can come at another time. We'll discuss in another video or something of the sort. So anyway, this video today in creativity, we're going to discuss that when it comes down to it, we're all inherently creative, whether we believe it or not. Perhaps we can think that our creativity has kind of been taught out of us, for lack of a better word. I think that's the nicer word to use. But we should all realize that we are all creative. We have that gift within us, and quite honestly, we may be using that, if we're out in the workforce, we may be using those skills now, because I can tell you that there's no company out there that's kind of sitting back on easy street. They're required, in order to stay competitive, to tap into the resources, the creative resources of their employees, so that they can stay on the kind of the edge of their business. So there's that. What's interesting about creativity as well, before we dive into everything, is that creativity is as unique as we are ourselves, right? That's how we can look at, or a number of us could look at the same sunset, and we would each have a different interpretation of what we painted or sculpted or molded or what have you, because we each have a different lens that we're looking at things with. And I think that each of our version of creativity is different as well. What inspires us, our skill set, obviously that comes into play, how often we practice with it, plus all the items that we put into our canoe. If you remember back to that video on filling our canoe, we had knowledge and experiences, interests, hobbies, desires, dreams, opinions, and then all that we are inside. So if we take all those things along with our skill set and practicing, we mix it maybe with a little gratitude, a little, being able to stay in the present with it, tuning to our senses, getting out in nature, whatever it may be, staying in the present, if I didn't say that one already, then we've created our own unique blend of creativity that is going to allow us to interpret whatever we're doing in a different way than Joe or Sally interprets it. I will fully admit that forming a practice of creating is a tough one for me. Like I continuously try to incorporate it into my day. And, I don't know if some of you linear-minded folks can appreciate that. It's sometimes tough to switch that lever from the left side to the right side of the brain a bit, but we know that it's good for our soul, and so we should begin. So we listen to what speaks to us. We give things a try that may push us outside of our comfort zone, and we simply begin. So as always, I kind of break the chapter into 3 categories. So we'll do that today. The 3 categories we're going to discuss are sources and benefit of creativity, modes of creativity, and then developing our creativity. So let's start with the sources and benefits of creativity. I guess first of all, creativity comes from deep within. And to be more specific, it comes from our sacral chakra. And I don't know if you recall some of that I touched on a little bit or directed you to learning more. That's our second chakra. So it's down low there. And our sacral chakra is home to creativity. It's home to reproduction. And with it, the seat of pleasure and all the indulgences of that. So as a result, there's plenty of opportunity due to life experiences that affects that chakra to get a little mucked up, to get a little stuck there. And, be that from this life, past lives, or our ancestral DNA. So if our sacral chakra is a little gucked up, then our life force energy isn't flowing throughout. And our creativity isn't flowing either. So what we need to do to get that flowing is to clean it up a little bit. And I can speak to this one in that I've had a couple intuitive practitioners in my life, tell me one saw a dagger in my sacral chakra, and another one just off the cuff said, your sacral chakra is black. So being somebody on this path and hearing those things from 2 separate people, I knew I needed to work on clearing my sacral chakra. So I worked on a lot of self-healing. I tried to start at least a creative practice, and even if it wasn't consistent, I knew what I was doing this year was more than I did last year, and that was enough, and I keep stepping forward. I visited a Reiki practitioner, which for me is a little easy because my sister is practicing Reiki, a Reiki practitioner. I worked on clearing myself with crystals and breath work, and I worked on clearing my ancestral lineage as well. But notice that I did say creating in there because creating is a great way to get that energy moving in you. And when we create, we kind of push that pause button on life, and we simply create it. It's allowing ourselves the time and space to be creative, and we're not always great about that. To be present with it so that not do all these things we do when we're distracted and trying to multitask, which we've discussed is not a feather in our cap. Creating can allow us to work through insecurities because we're making decisions at every point. What do we sketch? What do we stitch? What do we draw? What do we, whatever it is. And I know that sounds small, but it is kind of forcing us to make decisions and push us outside our comfort zone. And I guess that helps in confidence in some ways too. And ultimately, it doesn't matter what other people think of our creations. It doesn't matter what we think of our creations. As long as we're creating and we're having fun with it, then heck, that's a great thing. And, another part of it is we're really trying to create what we feel versus what we think, right? And I think if you put all this together, then it lends to that. This is why we see so many interpretations of artwork, because we each have our own creative mix that we're putting into it. Okay. Oh, the other thing I wanted to mention was that creating can be very therapeutic as well. It's a way to work through our emotions, or it can be a way to work through our emotions. I know, through the divorce, my kids saw counselors that used art therapy and as with their counseling, and it was tremendous. I was so amazed and so impressed with that. So at the end of the day, being creative is just good for our souls, and it's a place where we can hit that pause button, like I said, and just be kind to ourselves and enjoy the moment that we're in. So let's talk about types of creativity. Again, for purposes of this video, we're going to talk more about the physical creative artwork and things, but they can be extremely varied, really. We can talk painting or drawing, singing or baking or writing, knitting, as I think I mentioned not too long ago, but you get the point. There's so many things out there that are truly creative works of art. A number of years ago, and I guess it's our own interpretation. As an example, a few years ago, my kids and I went to New York City, went to a very well-known museum, and I will fully admit I don't fully understand some of the artwork, but here it goes. So we walk into this room, and there was 2 doors, one here, one over there, but the room was decent size. And I would say on a space kind of 12 by 12 feet, on the floor were these little silver wrapped candies or mints or something, I don't know what they were, in a square. And so we had to walk kind of around it to get from door A to door B. There was nothing on the walls. There was no other artwork in this place. That was the artwork. So it's up to each of our own interpretations for what we appreciate and what we create, and that is a prime example of that, because obviously some people had an appreciation for that. It made it into a major museum. So anyway, I still laugh at that a little bit. So let's talk about a few quick ways that we can bring creativity into our lives. And these I'm just pulling, by the way. You know what's out there. But a fun way to start is, if you want to test out acrylics, then many of the cities around have those paint and drink days or nights that you can go and you all paint the same picture. Those are fun. Hopefully the country or the world is opening up now, and we'll see more opportunities to get back to some of that stuff. But that's a great way that you're not investing in buying everything, and you're having a fun night out and seeing if that's something that you might like. Watercolors are another quick and easy and fairly inexpensive way to just check it out to see if it's something you might like. Fiber art seems to be all the craze now. A couple years ago, I asked my mom to teach me how to knit. I don't think it's in my wheelhouse, quite honestly, and I have a newfound appreciation for anybody that can knit and crochet, but that's something you can sit and on your couch in the evening and do. Before the pandemic, a few of us got together. I don't know if you've seen those little felting with a needle. You can make little critters. That's a great way. It's a great family project. It's somewhat inexpensive. You can buy the felt, or you can buy those kits online or in different craft shops. And for us, we made them. It was a fun afternoon, and we had new Christmas ornaments. So it doesn't have to be a lot, I guess is my point. Just start trying things out. Get that energy flowing. Create some. Here, I don't know if you can see these up above me. Those are wet felting pieces that I was guided that I needed to do. I went out and bought a ton of felt, and I haven't felted since, but I think that was last winter. Last winter. And I needed to get it done, and so you can see those, and then I needle felted the little things in it. And so sometimes for me, I do one thing and it's done. I went down a rabbit hole just trying to find something that that was within my skill set, we'll just say. And I found string art, and I should have brought it over here, but I found a yin-yang sign, and I did it in blue and green, and I may have actually showed it to you already, I can't remember, but I love it. It reminds me, I walk into my room and it reminds me to keep balance. Have I done any string art since? I have not. So I guess it gets back to we listen, I guess. We listen, we listen to what calls to us and we do it and give it a try. Give ourselves that space, push ourselves outside our comfort zone a little bit and see where it takes us. Okay, last category here, we're at 15 minutes, I can talk, is developing our creativity. So I'm going to go through this rather quickly here. I'm going to start with a quote from Picasso, which is, "All children are artists. The problem is how to remain an artist once he grows up." And that, I feel like, ultimately summarizes many of us, especially many of us coming from the left side of the brain. We tend to be a little closed off creatively if we kind of threw us all together and generalized us, I guess. But the good news is we can wake it up because it's there. What are some of the reasons that we need to brush away and to get us creating in the first place? For mine, one, perfectionism. What I envision creating and what I ultimately create, there's a big gap there. And so I don't do it. Or it takes me forever because of the perfectionism and I stall and maybe I finish it, maybe I don't. And occasionally I might have to go to part of my to-do list, which is that, really productive anyway, because I'm kind of forcing myself to do it. Is it really doing what is intended there? Another reason is, for me at least, is there's something more important I need to do with this time, which isn't fair either. It's okay to give the space and time to be creative. I think many of us grew up in this era, these decades of productivity. We need to stay busy. We need to be productive. We need to be seen as productive. And sometimes, anyway, I'll stop it there. You get my point. I'm really hoping that our younger generations lose some of this and learn to give themselves space to do some of these things. But I think they learn from us, just as we learn from the other generations. And so we need to, in order to teach them, we need to embody this ourselves. We need to allow ourselves this time and space and show them that being creative is important, right? And then taking the pressure off ourselves by giving us the time and the space to create, allowing ourselves to be present with it. We don't need to be multitasking things. Just give ourselves that space to create and allow ourselves to enjoy the process of creating. And the last piece is like getting out in nature is a kind of great way to draw in inspiration for that, and also attune to our senses, kind of prime them up before we create. And speaking of, being inspired, go to an art museum or look at art books or other books, or, go down the rabbit hole like I did for the string art and find something that kind of jumps out to you, that speaks to you, and give it a go. Maybe you'll be like me and it's one and done for that type of artwork, but, why not? Let's give it a try. If we fail, we laugh. It's okay. We're still opening up that creative portal. So I think that was really fast talking, so thank you for sticking with me. I know we're totally over. I will make that a wrap. Next Thursday, we're coming down to the end of this now. Next Thursday's video will discuss our spiritual toolbox, which we'll get into a little bit. It's a little bit different than filling our canoe that we've already talked about. As far as that, I'm just going to leave you today. I do have some book updates, but we'll get into that next week, and I'll fill you in on what's happening there. But in the meantime, much love and gratitude for you for joining me whenever it is you may watch this. I so appreciate it, and I look forward to seeing you next Thursday as we discuss our spiritual toolbox. Thank you, and have a great day.